What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Sec Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Lemke, and with me, as always, is the awesome co-host, Kenn Williamson. Kenn, how you doing?
Doing good. Hanging in.
Yeah.
Summertime's almost here. I already had my girls getting after me that it's time to go to the pool. I'm like, well, just got a week or so to go, and then the pools will be open, and so pretty exciting. How's new dad life treating you?
It's good. Listen, it's great. It's great being a dad. Yeah, Colson just turned 4 months old, and I got to be honest, dude, the last 3 weeks have been tough because he's not sleeping quite as much anymore, and he's at this stage where he wants to move and he wants to interact, but can't really crawl yet. Obviously, can't sit up, So he wakes up. And you can't just put him down, and you know what I mean? So you've got to walk with him, and so it's it's getting tough. I get it now. I get the whole sleep thing. The first 3 months it's been what are people this isn't too bad, I get it now,
Well, it'll get better, and then it'll get worse again,
Yeah.
and then it'll get better again, and that'll just keep on going probably for the rest of your life. So
great.
just enjoy it. It's kind of like a roller coaster, right? You get on, and then you just ride around and enjoy the ride, right? And not worried about it too much. So
100%, man. No, it's going good. Dude, it has not stopped raining here in a month.
I know. I feel like we're living in England or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of rain, man. Typically my outlet to go get just some peace is a good round of golf. Can't golf right now, man.
Not good golfing in the rain.
No, it's just mud, dude.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to summer. Definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, man, how's everything going to work?
It's going good. On the summer thing, you heard it here first. He's looking forward to summer. Be ready in 2 months when he's like, I am ready for summer to be over in 100-degree heat. And I'm the exact same way. I'm ready for summer too. Like I said, the kids are ready to go to the pool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to get hot very quick.
Yeah.
So, it's the same, but it kind of plays into what we're going to talk about today, which is using AI to do development.
Yeah.
And, this is something that in many respects has made my life a lot easier, because it really helps you to automate really kind of mechanical tasks within it, but it's also can get you into trouble, and not so much me very often, just because I have a pretty good idea usually of what I'm trying to do. But I'll tell you what I run into a lot is, kind of junior developers, mid-level developers that are working with a technology that they're not super familiar with. Mm-hmm. They go to ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot or whatever, and they ask, how do I do this XYZ? And the response that they get is not necessarily wrong, but maybe doesn't fit with what we're doing.
Maybe it doesn't have the full context of the inner workings of the project, right?
Right. They'll be, you starting a new pattern of development unintentionally.
Yeah.
Because that is I don't want to digress into this too far, but how these large language models work is that they don't actually think, right? What they do is they analyze a bunch of text, right? And they make connections, right? And then for any given prompt, the large language model already knows what it's going to say given a particular prompt. And so really what it's giving you is the best possible guess that it has based on the information that it has, right? And so you can be asking it something and it can give you a good, correct answer that in a given different context would be really good, but in the context of the project that you're working on, maybe it doesn't make sense as much or it doesn't fit. And, and the tools are going to get better, but I I am a little bit of an AI skeptic. I think, we've talked about this before. I am not convinced that it's ever going to replace a human being developer, because you have to have discernment, right? Like
Right.
it's not just regurgitating some connections that you already have. It is thinking about a problem and applying critical thinking, which is something that a large language model just is never going to be able to do. And, they talk about, they'll make a whole API with the large language model, and or some other things. And what's funny is that you'll have all the AI stands coming out and be like, "It's here, artificial general intelligence is here. It can take business requirements and translate it into working code without any human intervention," right? And then everybody's going crazy all over the internet, and the doomers are out there. Our jobs are over. The human beings are obsolete, whatever.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, you find out that they faked the demo. It was all a sham.
Right.
But nobody ever goes back and says, "Oh, well, it looks like that what we assumed about the results of this were incorrect, and people are still really needed."
Yeah.
And so anyway, I just. I've said a lot there, but anyway, that's kind of my take on where development is with AI. What's your experience been with developing with AI?
Yeah, it's been largely the same as yours. I do think that the what I actually like about AI in development is that there was for a while this little niche market of developers who would just they didn't really understand code development. They just knew how to use a framework like React, right? So React is a framework that uses JavaScript, compiles into something called JSX, and kind of runs for web development. It's a great tool. And there was this little while where people would just get really, really good at React, and then essentially overcharge as a contractor or whatever, and just knew this one niche. And I think that the thing with AI is, like, if you just want like a little boilerplate web application, that can there's a home page and about page and a contact page, and maybe it can do a little bit of work with your CRM to generate your leads, whatever. Sure, I mean, I'm sure ChatGPT is really going to help you with that, and I do think that it's going to push some developers out who aren't really trying to do the project correctly. They're just really into their niche, and I think it's going to take away a little bit of the niches necessarily, because a lot of things that are more simple to do, AI can generate for you as a business owner, and that's great. But we're talking about enterprise level applications. We're talking about big streams of data. We're talking about large workflows. That's what we do. And I just don't think that AI is ever going to replace the developer in that, because, like you said, there's so much context. I mean, you're on one of our biggest projects in our agency. I would say, I can't guess, but what do you guys have? 70, 80,000 lines of code in that project? It's got to be more than that, right? I mean, it's a massive project.
I mean, it's hard to tell that, because we're really following the clean architecture, and so
that's great.
We have a lot, rather than I had a friend that was telling me about a company that we consult with, that their primary point of sale system has the main entry point is a single file with 30,000 lines of code in it.
No.
And luckily we're kind of out of that. We've really gone into the clean architecture, and so what we end up with is probably 100 or so files that are all 500 lines or less, and some of them like 50 lines.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of hard to put a number on, but yeah, I mean, big complicated projects that have very sophisticated business rules that are not that you can't describe the whole application in a paragraph or two. It's just, there's too much going on for you to be able to I mean, and not to say that you couldn't high level summarize it, but it's kind of like what you were saying. Like if I was to high level summarize the project in a paragraph or two, feed that into a large language model, there is a 0% chance that it's going to give me anything usable.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
it's just what in order to get it that distilled down, we have to gloss over a lot of detail
Right.
and a lot of context. And so yeah, I think you're exactly right about it. So I was reading an interesting LinkedIn post the other day about how AI is going to transform it. And it's kind of exactly along the lines that you said. They said that really development is kind of into two categories. You have, really smart developers on dynamic teams that are, really pushing the limit of computing and solving really big complex problems. And then you have a much larger section of much more mechanical developers that are just, like you said, they know a framework, they know how to put a button on a screen, they know how to, call an API endpoint whenever that button is clicked, right? But if you start going deeper than that, they quickly go out of their depth. And so exactly what you said, I think, is right, which is that kind of mechanical job is going to be a lot less in demand, because one of the value adds that they're bringing right now is that you don't want your super high-speed developer that's making, buku bucks spending his time making buttons on a screen, right? Like
exactly.
You don't want him doing that, because you want him designing architecture, making sure data is flowing correctly, troubleshooting problems, right? And so that mechanical developer had a place, right? Which is that you get the overall architecture going, you have the project set up, and then you say, okay, now we have this wireframe, make me these screens, make me these forms, make me these buttons. And that was something that they could do really well.
Right.
And now we are going to have tools, AI tools, that for a large degree, are going to be able to just manage that for the senior developer. And so, like, it'll be like he has a junior developer that just knows a framework at his fingertips. But not only that, like a whole battalion of junior developers that just know a framework at his fingertips with AI, right? And so it is something where there is quite a bit of value add. And if your job, and it all goes back to something we've discussed before a couple of different times, which is that the mindset of a developer. If you want to be a rock star developer, then you need to have the attitude of continuous learning, because there's always new tools. There's always new ways to do stuff. There's ways to refine and optimize everything. And it's just that kind of hunger for more knowledge that is going to propel you, and AI is just going to help you and make you even better, because it makes it that much easier to start looking up details that you don't have to now have at your fingertips. Whereas someone that was just like, I've worked on JavaScript, React for, 8 years now. I know React really well. Maybe I keep up with some of the trends of React, but maybe I don't. Maybe I'm still, writing code the same way that I was, 4 or 5 years ago, and just making it work. That is probably not going to be as valuable in the developing market, because there are going to be all of these AI tools that can essentially do that, right?
Yeah, and that's where I am excited about AI. I've always had this problem with for small businesses, mid-sized businesses, like if you're getting going and you're not like a subscription as a service or something more complicated than that, I've always had a problem where, they'll hire on, I was just talking, my brother owns a pest control company in Houston. And, when visited his website, I've been telling him forever, man, let me redo this website, because it's a terrible website. And the thing is he got so turned off by developers, because he paid like $13,000 for this website. and it's just awful, man. It's awful. It doesn't work. Half the links don't work. All this stuff. And it was just, some guy sold him on it, and he went in and did it. And, I mean, my brother, he owns a pest control company. He doesn't want to worry about a website, right? But the thing is like, I love that, you're not going to be able to go charge some small business 12 grand for some website you don't even know how to build, because my brother can now just get into ChatGPT and go, again, give me a home screen, give me this, give me that, insert his pictures and figure it out, right? And so there is a big value add there. But, this whole idea, and I've seen the videos, NVIDIA CEO saying you're just going to be able to make your web development just talking to AI. Yeah, I mean, in those situations, maybe we get there, soonish, but for our market, the people who are going to be listening to this podcast, people with more of those enterprise level applications, we're talking high scale data. I completely agree. You're never going to replace the developer, and I think that the value add is, again, for those small businesses. But like what you just said, I think AI is going to make developers have to get better, because if you don't get better, there is a time when AI is going to come along and be just as good as you. And then a company, even like ours, is going to go, okay, I see what you can do, but what you can do probably isn't really even at the scale of what we can just get out of ChatGPT. And it's going to make everybody grow. And that's what I am excited about AI. It's going to make developers have to grow, have to get a little bit better. And it's going to be a resource for them to get better, which is another value add. I do think one of the great things about AI is our entire day is solving problems. I mean, and this, but for people, like, it's very rare as a developer that you run into an error and immediately know why. Usually you got to go figure it out, and I think ChatGPT and these other AI models are going to help in the discovery process to solve problems, but they're not going to be the solution to the problem. You know what I mean?
I mean, I completely agree with everything you said there. I just, when we talk about what it's going to do to the job market, I think what we're going to see is senior developers that are able to use AI, ChatGPT, Copilot, whatever, really effectively. We're going to see them in higher demand, and we're going to see their wages go up.
Yeah.
And then, and I'm sad to say this about, like, all of the people that are going through boot camps right now, all of the people that are really not learning problem solving so much as mechanically, how do I make things happen, but not, and I don't want to call out every single boot camp. There's quite a bit of variation between them, right? And the best ones are giving their people the critical thinking skills to go and solve more problems within the context of, hey, let's use this technology and show you the process of problem solving with this technology that could be applied to other technologies. So I don't want to just call out in general, don't go to a boot camp. No, what I'm saying is that if you're going to a boot camp and you're struggling and you're not getting the process to problem solve, there probably isn't going to be a place for you in the market anymore, because you're not going to be at that level that you need to be in order to utilize AI effectively. Because I'll tell you, it's going to be incredibly frustrating for people. They're going to have a problem. They're going to go to the AI to help them solve it. They're going to come up with something, and then their lead, and then their stakeholder, and then, all of the people that are relying on that work are going to say, no, that's just not it. And they're not going to know what to do at that point, right? Because they've already exhausted all of their tools, to get where they're at. And so it's also going to make it very hard to start on the ladder of development. Like, you're going to have to become very familiar with, back in the day, and you and I have talked about this, you used to talk about Google foo, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do I get the right search terms in the right order with the right You know, with the right quotation marks around certain phrases and all of this detail. How do I do that in order to find the right article, the right blog, the right Stack Overflow thread, the right GitHub issue, whatever it may be,
Right.
that's going to tell me the answer to my problem? Now it's going to be AI foo,
Yeah,
right? It's going to
100%,
be,
yeah.
you know, and we're already seeing it. We're already
Right.
seeing people on LinkedIn saying things like they're AI whisperers, or, you know, they know how to make prompts,
Yeah.
right? They know how to prompt to get the right answer.
Yeah.
And people that are really good at that are going to excel, and there will be a place for them. And then people that have that and critical thinking are going to be at an upper tier. But just learning the basics of how coding works and how a framework works and how to put a button on a page just isn't going to be enough, because and it's a number of different issues, right? One is that we've had this boot camp, you know, kind of wave of, you know, many boot camps starting up, pushing out a
Right.
lot of graduates that have had a somewhat depressing effect on the software market wages, right? And so we've reached, I think we've reached a tipping point where they're going to keep pumping out graduates, but they're going to have a hard time finding work. I mean, and obviously there's overall economic issues that we don't want to
Right.
get into, but are also affecting the situation.
Right.
But they're going to see that the promises that all of these people had made to them about you're going to come out making six figures, you know, and you're going to be able to land a job within 6 months or whatever they say. They're just not going to be able to deliver that on that anymore,
Right.
because companies are going to want senior developers with proven talent who have already integrated their workflow with AI, their problem solving process with AI, and can execute. And they're not going to want to spend a lot of time and money on people that are not going to be able to keep up with that faster pace. So
No, I completely agree. And you know, I came out of a boot camp.
Me too.
I still help boot camp graduates, and what I try to tell them all is, if you want to be hireable, you know, like as soon as this boot camp ends, you're going to have to not just do the lessons that you're being given. You're going to have to take the concept and go build something from scratch and problem solve your way through it so that you can truly understand what's happening. You know, because like you said, you know, I think that, yeah, it is going to make the market a lot harder. And I think that, you know, a lot of companies are, you know, it's going to be like the barrier for entry is going to get higher. I don't necessarily, but I don't necessarily think that the ceiling is really going up. It's just that barrier to entry. And I think that, you know, the other thing with AI, you know, if I take a great craftsman and I give him a new tool, he's just going to fly with it, right? If that new tool can 10x his efficiency, if I take a saw out of their hands and I give them something better, oh man, they're just, because they already know what to do, right? And so that's where, you know, someone like you, a very good developer, you know, AI in your hands is going to make you a lot better. You're going to be very efficient with it, right? But you give somebody who's not a novice craftsman a better tool, they're going to try to rely 100% on that tool, you know. But it takes more than that. And so yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And you know, and I really want to encourage, you know, people who are just getting started coding, or, you know, you're really looking at software. Yeah, I do think you're going to have to work a little bit harder, you know, in the problem solving area. And, you know, I think you're going to have to get some more projects under your belt and really prove yourself to get in, you know.
I completely agree. And, you know, in the last little bit of the podcast here, I kind of want to pivot a little bit and talk about AI, not large language models, not ChatGPT, not Copilot, and talk about how that fits in with what developers are doing.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that work is going to be around integrating with AI, being able to feed AI good data in order to produce good models,
Yep.
and then and then using the output of AI correctly in order to drive insight generation, right?
Right.
I'm really hesitant to say that AI should drive decision making. I think that I think that decision making is always going to be a human thing at some level, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it may be that we move the decision making up to a higher level where there's fewer specific decisions made, and maybe they're just creating a set of rules that they want an AI to
Right.
follow or something. But at some level, there's always going to be a human intelligence directing it,
Yeah.
right? And what we have to do is, as developers, is embrace that.
Yeah.
We need to use the tools that we have. We have a project that has been kind of a long-term project at our company that's using computer vision and audio analysis through AI in order to detect problems in industrial sites. And see that kind of project is a great example of how how a developer is going to have to interact with AI.
Right.
Because on that project, there's two guys that are really dealing with the model, primarily one, and then there's 5 people overall on the team, and the other 3 are really packaging, right?
Yeah.
How do we package the AI?
Right.
How do we make a user interface in order to visualize what the AI is doing? How do we make the data flow into the AI work well and efficiently and filter out bad data? And how do we signal using the output of AI
Right.
to a human being to make decisions, right? And it's just really amazing what the people on this team have done with this technology. I think that things like this are going to continue to grow, and they are really, in my mind, a little bit more interesting than what you can do with a chat GPT helping you to code.
Right.
But another one, I'll just briefly give it one other example, which is for another company that we're working for that are using AI in their manufacturing and repair process to automate the way that damaged parts are classified. So they take a picture of a damaged part, they run it through image analysis that they've already taken, 1,000 or 10,000 images. They've labeled them and said, this one's not damaged. This one has this type of damage. This one has another type, whatever. So they've done all that work. Now they have this tool that they can give it the image of a part, and it can tell you what is wrong with that part just by looking at that image. And it's that kind of stuff that we as developers, we need to be getting in to understand how to do that. And it's not about you need to go and take get your PhD in statistics and learn all the inner workings of how neural network training works, right?
Yeah.
What you need to do is get yourself familiar with what they call the ML pipeline or the ML flow tooling, in Azure, in AWS, on a box with Python and some tooling, and Onyx is a big one, which is the open source system for making models portable, right?
Oh, yeah,
so that you can just move them between environments, and it doesn't really matter what kind of system you're using, because they just like kind of .NET Core took the .NET framework and made it portable for Windows and Linux or any environment, really, even down to like an embedded environment or something. Anything that could run the virtual machine for them. Onyx does the same thing for AI models. So you can train the model in whatever environment you want, export it, then take it wherever you want, put it on an edge device, put it somewhere. So all of these kinds of tools, I think, are what developers should be. And you don't need to become an expert. There's going to be AI, ML engineers that understand how the inner workings of a particular tool works, but you need to be familiar enough that given a model, you can wire it into your project, you can give it inputs, and you can get outputs, right? At the very minimum, you need to be there. And so that's kind of my final thought on AI is that, you know, the chat GPTs, the large language models are really interesting and they can do a lot to help you. But if what I'm learning, what I'm working on is familiarizing myself with these tools, learning how they work, learning how to interact with them, so that when the stakeholder says we want to do, you know, image recognition on XYZ, I can say, I know how to do that. I know how to integrate with that process.
Yeah. Nope, dude, that's exactly, yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think that's exactly where AI within development is going to go, and it's going to be, and I do think it's going to be a great tool. I think it's going to be a great tool. But I love what you just said. I think in that entire summation you just had, you kept using the word. I'm learning how. You're going to have to learn how to craft your needs. What problem you're trying to solve. How AI can help. You're not going to be able just to plug in, some JavaScript and be like, help me make this work. Sure, it might work there, but you're probably going to break something else, So, yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that it's going to be fascinating. I think that a lot like other technologies, what's going to happen is that AI is going to roll out really, really fast, and everybody is going to be convinced that you've got to put in AI. It's got to be about AI. And yeah, I think unfortunately, a lot of businesses are going to fall into the trap of, trying to lean too heavily into AI, and maybe do it with, an expert, a developer who doesn't know what they're doing, and it's going to go wrong. And that's going to happen over and over and over. And then what's going to happen is there's going to be a huge market correction. And when that market correction happens, we're going to be right back where we are, where it's really going to be about, can that developer solve problems?
At the end of the day, that's what you do for a living as a developer, is that you're solving problems with technology. So,
that's it.
And that's never going to change.
No, I completely agree, man. Yeah, I think it's going to be, it's going to be a fascinating few years. But yeah, for companies, listen, you're hang on to your developers. All right. Don't replace them with ChatGPT. Keep them around. You're going to need them. And for younger, devs coming up, just know, it's not a replacement for the work that you have to do to put yourself in a position where you can actually be a contributing member to a software team.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of coming up on the end.
Yeah. No, great episode. I think we've got, some guests lined up that I'm really excited about coming up. We've got some cool things. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying the guests that we've had. Please feel free to give us some feedback. If you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, wherever, we'd love to hear from you. My email's matt@sectech.com. You know what we should do soon is a mailbag.
Oh yeah, that would be interesting. We'll have to get with our producer and marketing queen to get us some feedback to respond to. That would be really fun, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
So send in your feedback and we'll respond to it.
Yes. Send in your feedback. Send in any questions. We'll do a mailbag here soon. Do want to give a huge shout out to our producer, Justine. Thank you so much for your help. And guys, we will see you back in 2 weeks.
Thanks, everybody.